Hello, I'm Shirley Cornelius, and welcome to EducatorHQ, the podcast for educators by educators that brings us together about everything we need to know, want to know, and things to share from right across the country. In today's episode, we will be talking about the budget. Now, we've all had a week to get over not getting a pay rise, but shout out to the aged care sector for their 15% pay increase. We're going to discuss the ins and outs of what was delivered with our special guest, our very own political faux journalist, Penelope Coldheart. Penelope, welcome to EducatorHQ.
Hi, Shirley. Thank you. Thanks for having me on EducatorHQ News.
So, Penelope, the Treasurer, Jim Chalmers, has delivered his second budget, but nothing for educator wages. Can you run us through that? What else was there that we should get excited about?
Yes, Shirley, well, as you mentioned, no wages allocated for funding in this budget, but there is plenty more to get excited about. You have an $18 million grant program that was announced that is earmarked for services to be built in desert areas, which is a great news for families and children that need early education out in those desert areas.
Well, so an $18 million grant to increase access. That's great, but services are already struggling to find staff in those areas. So how's that going to work, Penelope?
Well, Shirley, I'm here to report on the budget, not to fix the sector's problems. So we'll move on, shall we? You'd be happy to know that of the $72.4 million that's allocated over 5 years for skills and training, $34.4 million is for professional development. So you can claim backfill. So educators that are training during work hours can have backfill allocated to them. And also, when you're doing your training out of hours, there is an allowance for that as well. So you would have to be happy with that allocation of funds.
Well, yes, that is welcomed. But as always, we're doing training in our own time. But that's because there's no one to replace us in work time. So again, what's that going to do for us, those educators and services who really need professional development and are struggling to cover staff?
Right. Well, Shirley, again, I'm here to report on the budget, not to solve your problems. I'm sure you'll figure it out. You always do in the sector. So let's move on. Included in that $72.4 million is $42.7 million for students to subsidise doing their prac.
Okay, that sounds good, but tell us more about that.
Right. Well, 6,000 students are going to be able to access the subsidy to relieve them of the burden of their prac. So they can do prac and not worry about not getting paid, but I'm yet to see the detail on that. So the devil is, as they say, in the detail. I'll have to work out how much that is and how exactly it's going to work, but it does sound promising. And let me see here. Yes, another 2,000 students can undertake their prac in a different service. So this is really going to help students. They're going to get a livable allowance, a living allowance that is going to enable them to do prac in rural and remote locations, which will be a welcome relief for services out there needing more students and for the students to graduate and then get a job.
Well, that is great for students. But again, those who are upskilling while working are going to need to be replaced. So I hate to be the downer, Penelope, but so far the budget measures are all dependent on having the extra staff to start off with, and we just don't have it. What else is there that doesn't link back to staffing?
Right, well, let me see. Okay, Shirley. Well, how about $2.8 million towards additional childcare subsidy? So there's a lot of talk about how restrictive this process is, and families who are facing very vulnerable times, having to jump through so many hoops to get their children in and accessing additional days. So the government has said that they are going to streamline this process for child wellbeing under additional childcare subsidy and make applications a lot more easier for services to navigate. So that's a welcome announcement, isn't it, Shirley?
So streamlining ACCS to families and children who are absolutely in need and need the access to this, no arguing with that. But again, for families and children to access additional days, which again, hate to say it, means additional staff. I'm hoping you can see the pattern here that we're trying to highlight.
Look, Shirley, I'm just your faux political journalist. So my question is, what are you going to do about it? What's the sector going to do about it? I'm just here to report on the budget, not fix your problems. I have heard whispers around the sector that there is events happening. Not sure if you know any more about that, but that's it from me, your journalist for EducatorHQ News. That's all I have to report back, Shirley.
Well, thank you, Penelope, for joining us on EducatorHQ for the breakdown of the budget. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, Shirley, and I look forward to joining you again on EducatorHQ News.
Well, for educators out there wanting to take action on the lack of funding for wages in the budget, we have a solution. We have town hall meetings that are running in every capital city across the country on Saturday, the 27th of May. To find out more, click on the link in the comments and register your interest. So that's all for now from EducatorHQ News. I'm Shirley, and thanks for joining us.